Good morning. This is Loren, and I'm coming to you from the Tanglewood Wellness Center in Costa Rica. And I've been asked this morning to address the question of using dried fruits. The specific question was goji berries, I think.
And raisins.
And raisins. And
etc.
etc. Right. So dried fruit in general.
Rehydrating, right?
Right. So the question is, are these optimal foods? Is it okay to use them and rehydrate them, or maybe should we leave them alone? And let me say that dried fruits are frequently used in raw food recipes, and I know many people that if they're traveling somewhere, that what they'll do is they'll take things like nuts and dried fruit with them because it's easy to travel with. From my perspective, these are things that we really ought to be avoiding as much as possible. And I'll tell you why. If you've been watching my videos, as you guys certainly know what I believe, what my experience is, what I found over the last roughly 7 years now, measuring the cellular hydration of quite a few people, 1,600 people, roughly. Yeah, 10 million people. Roughly 1,600 people. The vast majority of those people were severely dehydrated, at roughly 15% lower than we've seen as possible with a few people. So how we get dehydrated is by consuming food that contains no water, because instead of the food we eat giving water to the body, which we're designed to eat like every other species, food that's rich in water. The animals that eat plants are eating fruit and leaves and shoots and plant parts that are 80 to 85, 90% water, and animals that eat animals, kill an animal, drink the blood, eat the water-rich internal organs, they get a meal that's 85, 90% water. So when we're consuming food that contains very little water, instead of having perfect water taken from the food and put into the body, we're actually losing the body's water. Yeah, but we can reconstitute these things, right? We can take these dried fruits and we can soak them in water, and now we've got something that's not so dry. The problem is that the water that was in the grape or the fresh goji berry or the peach or whatever, the apricot, that was perfect water. That water, there's nothing better, nothing easier for your body to use, to take in and use, than the water in our plant foods. The water that we're drinking, it's not the same. Your body doesn't interact with it the same way, so it's harder to get hydrated by drinking water than it is by eating correctly. Now, if you're already dehydrated, neither drinking water nor eating correctly is going to get you hydrated, because you have to get the body cleaned out first, which you guys here with me are all doing now. If you're watching this, it's going to be very, very hard to get fully hydrated until your body is truly clean. And I've measured a lot of people that think their bodies are clean, and we see most of them are pretty dehydrated. So if you're taking dried fruits and reconstituting it, let's look at the grape, for instance. Okay, a grape is roughly 92% water. A raisin between 20 and 25%. Now you soak that raisin in water for an hour or 2 or 6, whatever. Now it feels plump, but it doesn't feel like a grape, does it? It never regains its grapehood. That's gone forever. It's permanently a raisin. It can be a dry raisin or a reconstituted raisin, but you're never going to get anywhere near the 85, 90% water you have in a grape. And the water, what you're feeling is essentially something that's swollen with water, but it's not the same. It's no longer part of the structure of the grape, of the raisin. So your body does not use it. It does not use that water like it would the water in a perfect grape. We can never regain that once we've lost it. So, I've jokingly said before, kill your dehydrator, right? Because dehydrated food, I avoid it the vast majority of the time. It's stuff I would stay away from. I own a dehydrator. I have no idea where it is. Okay, I left it with a woman I was dating in Ontario, Canada somewhere 10 years ago, and I haven't seen it since. And I don't care, because we really, really want to be very, very cautious about how much dried food we're consuming. And a grape is bad. A raisin at 20 to 25% water content, that's pretty bad. But you take something that you've had in the dehydrator for 8 hours that contains, I don't know, negative amount of water. Okay, that may not be possible. It contains no water at all. That's going to suck the water out of your body. So I would say avoid dehydrated foods and avoid dried fruit as much as you possibly can. I will, when I'm 2 or 3 or 6 times a year preparing something sort of gourmet-ish for other people, I will occasionally use some reconstituted dried fruit. I might eat those things myself 3 or 4 times a year. But it's not something I have on hand, it's not something I would eat regularly, and it's not something I would encourage you to be eating regularly either. Because if you want to stay as young as possible, be as healthy as possible, you need to be fully hydrated. And to be fully hydrated, you need to avoid anything that has a very low water content, or in fact anything that's taking water out of your body, which means alcohol, salt, vinegar, spices, herbs. All these things require, either they require water to process them out, or they, well, I guess that's what's always going on. That's what a diuretic is. So any of those substances, coffee, tea, sodas, all these things are, you drink something, it feels like you're taking in a lot of liquid, but there's no water in there, and you're losing water. So avoid all those substances if you want to rehydrate your body. Okay, and avoid dried fruit, even reconstituted, except for maybe very occasional use. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions about that? Okay, well, I hope that's useful to you. I'll see you again.